friends, as a part of the subject of global scenario and business strategy, especially in the post-midsem part, let us try to understand the Porter's five forces model. This presentation we will run through to understand the model and the framework given to us by Porter's five forces way. Now, friends, let us try to understand the perspective behind this framework. Friends, this five forces perspective is associated with its originator, Michael Porter of the Harvard University. Friends, this framework was first published in the Harvard Business Review in 1979. The Porter's five forces framework is a method for analyzing competition of a business. Friends, as mentioned in the slide, the Porter refers to these forces as microenvironment to contrast it with the more general term macroenvironment. They consist of those forces close to a company that affect its ability to serve its customers and make a profit. A change in any of the forces normally requires a business unit to reassess the marketplace given the overall change in industry formation. Here a new term is coined, and that is industry attractiveness. The overall industry attractiveness does not imply that every firm in the industry will return the same profitability. Firms are able to apply their core competencies, the business model or network to achieve a profit above industry average. Now, to understand it further, let us try to use an example. In here we take example of the airline industry. Friends, as an industry, the profitability of the airline sector is low because the industry's underlying structure of high fixed cost and low variable cost. The airlines tend to compete on cost, and that drives down the profitability of individual carriers as well as the industry itself, because it simplifies the decision by a customer whether to buy or not to buy a ticket. A few carriers like Virgin Atlantic is one who have tried with limited success to use the sources of differentiation in order to increase the profitability. Now friends, the forces are divided into categorized into two forces, the horizontal and the vertical. The horizontal sources are the threat of substitute products or services, threat of the established rivals, and threat of new entrants, while the two vertical in the competition are the bargaining power of suppliers and the bargaining power of customers. Before we take the presentation forward, I like to inform that Porter developed this five forces framework in reaction to the then popular SWOT analysis. SWOT stands for strength, weakness, opportunities and threats. The other Porter strategy tools which he has developed includes the value chain analysis and generic competitive strategies. Now friends, let us try to understand with the use of the diagram in the next slide about the Porter's five forces model. Friends, in this on your screen you are able to locate the Porter's five forces model, and as you can see, the very first aspect in the vertical category is the threat of new entrants. The firms entering in industry bring new capacity and a desire to gain market share and profits. But whether the new firms enter in industry depends on the barriers to industry. Now, entry barriers are here. If you like to see on the top left corner of the slide, you can see the few entry barriers. In addition, the established firms in an industry may benefit from the experienced curve effect. That is, their cumulative experience in producing and marketing a product often reduces their per unit cost below that of the inexperienced firms. In general, the higher the entry barriers, the less likely outcome outside the firms are enterable into the industry. Very next factor, which is exactly in the center of the slide, is industry competitor. It is also the rivalry among the existing competitors. Friends, rivalry determinants include the industry growth, product differences, and barriers. This is the conventional type of competition in which firms try to take customers from one another. The strategies such as price competition, advertising battle, new product introduction, and increased customer services are commonly used to attract customers from the competitors. Finally, the last element in the vertical forum is the substitutes. It is called as the threat of substitute products. Now, in broad sense, all firms in an industry are competing with the industry's producing substitute products. The substitutes limit the potential return in an industry by placing a ceiling on the prices that the firms in the industry can profitably share. The more attractive the price performance alternative offered by the substitutes, the tighter the lead on the industry profits. So friends, these three new entrants, industry competitors, and the threat of substitute products are the vertical format three factors. Now let us focus on the horizontal factors. One, the bargaining powers of the suppliers, and next is the bargaining power of the buyers. Now, bargaining powers of the suppliers can be a competitive threat in industry because they can raise the price of raw material or reduce their quality. Powerful suppliers can reduce profitability of an industry if the companies in the industry cannot pay higher prices to cover the price increases that of the supplier imposes. Finally, the bargaining powers of the buyers. The buyers compete with the industry by forcing down the prices. The bargaining of higher quality or more services and playing the competitors off against each other, all at the expense of the industry profitability. So friends, let us recap the three vertical forces: threat of new entrants, intensity of the rivalry, and threat of the substitutes, and two horizontal factors: bargaining powers of the suppliers and bargaining powers of the buyers. These are the five forces which are suggested by Michael Porter. Friends, this is a useful approach for formulating the strategies is based on the Michael Porter has published in the Harvard Business Review, and the reference is there on this slide. You may find various materials on the websites of various journals related to this paper. I hope this is a brief introduction about the forces is useful, and for any further information please feel free to write. Thank you all of you.